Hey guys, Chris Stelzer from Agricultural Insights here for another book review for you guys. This one is called How to Not Go Broke Ranching by Walt Davis. Wow is all I got to say about this book. This book is so cool, very impressive. Walt is an old-timer from Texas, Oklahoma, ranching background. He's an old guy, he's a smart guy. And that's not a bad thing, saying that he's old, but what I am saying is that we should listen to him because he has a lot of experience. Okay, so How to Not Go Broke Ranching. That's just such an awesome title. This book's about 300 pages. It's a good read, it's entertaining. The first part of the book, he talks about the history of ranching in America. Then he talks about how his family and his dad we're ranching, and he has stories that go along with it, but it's relevant. He's not just telling you an irrelevant story. It's a great read. It's easy to read. It's so full of delightful, tidbits here and there, but it's also very on par with the title of the book, which is How to Not Go Broke. And one of the main chapters in this book that I really liked was substitute management for money. Now, before I came out to Ian's place here in South Africa, that was my mindset. I'm like, oh, well, the water quality in this paddock is bad, or the cattle need water, so I'm going to put in 4 more water tanks. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Cattle have 4 legs, make them walk to the water, and, you need to manage that. You need to manage accordingly. So, really cool. Another overwhelming theme of this book is he talks about holistic management a lot, okay? This is awesome. Since I've read the Holistic Management book by Alan Savory, and then I've read this book by Walt Davis, who has a more practical application of holistic management. And that's really cool to see. And then you can start to the gears start turning in your head, and you start understanding holistic management more and how it actually can work in your real life. So that is just fantastic. He talks about biological diversity, and the more diversity you have, the better. He talks about planned grazing. He talks about working with nature. These are a lot of themes that I cover on my website. So it was really cool to read this book and realize, hey, me and Walt Davis have had, similar ideas. So, if he's an old dude and he's right, that must mean I'm onto something too. He talks about stockmanship. He talks about correct stocking rate, stocking mix, and apart from Alan Nation's book, which I just recently reviewed, he does not tell you to plant X, Y, and Z. You adjust your management for what you want, and then you'll get that. He talks about planning for drought, and one of the best tips in this chapter, which is chapter 13, is if you're in a more brittle environment, or an environment where you're prone to droughts, then maybe you need to have a larger percentage of your herd, of your livestock, that you can sell easily. So, in other words, this means you're not going to have a large percentage you're not going to be a cow-calf operator in a very brittle environment, would be his suggestion. Maybe you have a few cows, but you bring in stockers or you custom graze during the growing season. You can get rid of those animals easily and less painfully than getting rid of your cows. So there you go. Talks about adapted animals, breeding season, and then one of the biggest things he talks about is the last chapter is sheep and goats. And a lot of people, myself included at one point, think sheep and goats are just little cows. They're not. They have very diverse dietary requirements that are different from a sheep, or that are different from a cow. And, a sheep is different from a cow, and a goat is different from a sheep. Goats have small mouths, they nip, and they get really highly nutritious growth on trees, shrubs, and grass. Sheep are similar, and cows are just bulk mass grazers, because cattle only have teeth on the bottom, so they just grab and rip and take a bunch of grass. So, really an insightful book. I've laughed out loud at times. I learned a lot. Walt Davis, thank you. And if you're thinking about ranching, or you already are a rancher, or you know a rancher, get him this book or her this book. It's a great one. Thanks, guys. See you next time.